Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. This is an honor to be here with you. So thank you so much for doing this. This is
Absolutely.
great.
Thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
we're really excited about having you here on the podcast. So congratulations on the resounding win.
Thank you.
Okay, on your runoff election, because by all counts, I mean, it was probably pretty much two-thirds of the vote, right at about 64.99%. And that's because the election that precipitated that runoff, you were at 48.91% of the votes. What is it? You have to get 50%
Right.
in order to avoid the runoff.
Exactly.
It wasn't even close. So you smoked everybody. So congratulations on that.
Thank
And um, I wanted to start by asking you a little bit about your journey. So can you please tell us, share with us, what brought you into public service
Yeah, sure.
and what inspired you to run for city council?
Yeah. So I'm a first generation college student, first generation American. I actually was born in India in a state called Punjab. My family immigrated here in the early 90s. And so we had the opportunity to reach the American dream that everyone really wants. And so our whole focus was making sure we got a great education and giving back to the community that helped us build our family. And so I became a teacher after college. I thought I was going to do human rights work, and I kept actually going on the education route. I went to school at Rice University and then to Teach for America, and really saw firsthand the inequities that exist in our education system. And so I've been devoted my life to youth and education ever since. And I've been almost 16 years now in the education
Wonderful.
system. Yeah. And I decided to run for public office because I was doing a lot of work on the West Side with Edgewood ISD. And I was supporting some schools over there, and the adults in the room who often get placed with the burden of solving poverty. We think schools can be an absolute game changer,
Mm.
but it shouldn't fall just on the backs of teachers. And I saw teachers and principals working so incredibly hard for our kids, but not only were they working to teach, they were working to feed because students were coming to school hungry. They were working to get vision and healthcare because students weren't able to see the screen or the board. So there were so many other issues that were surrounding the schools that I felt like the city needed to step up in and truly addressing. And learning about our education system here, we are one of the most economically segregated cities in the country. And there are so many challenges that we face that have resulted from systemic inequities like redlining that have created these pockets of poverty. And so I really wanted to work on the city side to really see how can we bridge those two gaps so that educators and elected leaders of the city can come together to find solutions for our kids and our youth. I remember when I started block walking the first time, I had several people say, "Are you running for the wrong seat? Should you be running for school board because your background and your passion is K-12 ed?"
Mm.
And I said, I had one educator who actually told me, she's like, "No, I totally get it, because school board members address the 8 hours a day a kid is in the school building, and you want to address 24 hours, 7 days a week that's the kid is experiencing life." So that's what got me here.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and coming from a long line of educators myself, I have a tremendous amount of admiration and respect for educators,
Thanks.
as it's wonderful. And who knew that redlining still exists
Yeah.
here in 2025?
Mhm.
Believable. So District 1, what a huge district, and I in looking at the boundaries and everything, and I've got kind of a follow-up question from the real estate standpoint in a minute, but it was very, very interesting, kind of studying the boundaries. But let me ask you, what makes District 1, such a special and important part of San Antonio?
100%. So we always say District 1 is the corazón of San Antonio because
Oh,
it is the heart. And if you look at it, we represent all the different types of areas that you would find in our city. And so the council person for District 1 really has to be a council person for the whole city.
mm,
You have the central business district, and that's a huge part of our community, our fabric, which is, all the conversations that are centered right now happening with
certainly.
the sports and entertainment district in District 1.
It's
We also have the most historic neighborhood in the state. So Monte Vista, King William, some legacy neighborhoods that have such beautiful architecture and history and character that we want to remember. And then we also have what used to be the suburbs of our city now. So Greater Harmony Hills, Colonial Hills, that was the actually the suburbs of San Antonio before, and so that's also a part of our district. And then we also see the economic divide that I was just mentioning most clearly in District 1. So that walking, one neighborhood to another on Hildebrand, you see it very clearly. So some of our toughest challenges. And then at the same time, we have amazing universities. So we have Trinity, we have SAC, and a lot of diverse residents that are living here. So I think if we're really making policy for District 1, you have to make policy for the whole city.
So true, so true. So let's talk a little bit about your leadership because I know that you bring both innovation and compassion to the work you've done, and you've already got one term under your belt, right? So, how does that show up in your role?
Yeah. I think when we're making policy, we're never going to be able to represent 100% of the people's opinions that we're working for, right? Our job is to be an elected leader for our
So
constituents.
tough.
But at the same time, there's a diverse perspective in District 1. We don't have districts anywhere in our city that all have the same beliefs or values. And so it makes it challenging to make sure you're really hearing and listening to folks' concerns and doing our best to address them.
Sure.
So whether that was with the Migrant Resource Center that was located in District 1 and the supports that we were providing for folks as they were seeking asylum in our country, and hearing the concerns of the people that were living right around the area and doing our best to help support them so that their quality of life and their day-to-day life wasn't changing as much. There's a school right behind there that we worked really closely with to help support them, to make sure there was enough trash pickup, that there was enough police support if they needed it, while still making sure we were doing the compassionate and the right thing of supporting those folks that were coming in seeking asylum to our country.
Sure.
And so that's just an example of one way where you really have to listen to what people's concerns are and do your best to address them while doing what you need to do to move forward. Another is the Green Line. So Via's Rapid Transit Green Line is coming right through the heart of the
Right through
district,
that. Yes.
actually right down the street, right?
Correct.
And it's going to be incredible. We've never had rapid transit in our city before. We've actually, been way behind the eight ball on public transportation. And that was really challenging for residents because we know how many people actually use public transit, but we'd like to see that increase. And also, we need to from a sustainability perspective. And
Sure.
at the same time, that does mean that there's going to be construction challenges on San Pedro. And there are a lot of neighborhoods around San Pedro that might see some traffic spillover that we're concerned about, different development with the transit development framework. So there's a lot of consideration that we had to make sure that we were taking and listening to neighborhoods. And that's why if you are going to develop on the Green Line, you have to keep your historic overlay if you're developing in Monte Vista. So I think we have always tried our best to make sure we're moving our city forward, keeping everyone included to ensure that we're creating policy with equity while still listening to our residents to help address their concerns.
I mean, so many complexities, and that really is incredible. I mean, you brought up a very, very good point. With the Green Line running right smack dab through the middle of your district, so that is very interesting. It's certainly a very interesting time for us. Um, so let's talk about your vision. I mean, are there any current incentives or goals that you're particularly excited about that our audience should know?
Sure. So we've been thinking a lot about, this next term and what we really want to focus on. And we have five priority areas, and I'll list the five, then we'll talk mainly about the first two. So
Mm.
our first one, previous Mayor Ron Nirenberg on his exit speech called me the orange cone council person. And I don't know if I look good in orange. Usually purple's my color, but I will happily take that on. So
Yes, yeah.
I know, right.
That's great.
Yeah. So infrastructure is going to continue to be our number one priority. There are so many areas in our district and across the city that don't have walkable sidewalks, that whose streets are falling apart and we don't have any support for them. And infrastructure plays a big role in ensuring that a community is thriving. You can't, if there's not trees for you to walk outside, that creates the health challenges. And if you are struggling with asthma and the air outside your neighborhood is not as strong as in another area, it's going to affect your health. So there's so many interconnected issues with infrastructure that we want to continue to focus on. And the second is affordable housing. So I've talked about housing a lot. It's particularly affordable, and I know we'll get to this, but we don't have enough housing at all levels of the AMI levels. So from 30% AMI, that means if you're making 30% of the average median income, all the way to market rate housing, we don't have enough units. And so we have to do everything that we can to really continue to push policy forward to support that. And there's one specifically that we're going to be working on in District 1 is called missing middle housing, because we don't have lots of like huge plots of land where you can just go build, 300 units.
It's all built out.
So right, exactly. So we need to figure out creative ways to build on smaller pieces of land. And so looking at 4 to 20 unit housing policy incentives is something we're going to be looking at. And then the last 3 priority areas that we'll always keep focusing on are our small businesses. We're running a music to business pilot program right now.
Mm.
Public safety, really focusing on ACS and trying to increase the numbers of spay and neuter services. And then last but not least, our parks and community centers. We want all of our parks and community centers to be thriving, particularly San Pedro Springs Park, which is the 10th most historic park in the country, the most historic one we have in San Antonio. So we're going to be focusing on that one as well.
That's great. That's terrific. As far as community engagement is concerned, because we all want to be involved, right, in
Mhm.
our community because we care, right? That's the one thing that I love about San Antonio is that
Yep.
the people here care. So, how can local professionals, business owners like myself, and residents, how can we be more involved in helping you move your vision forward?
Yeah. So we're always hosting community events. Our big one tomorrow is back to school. So it's on August 2nd. And
Mm.
if anytime I would say follow your elected leaders. They now social media is so big that you can often see opportunities on folks' social media accounts
Mhm.
and reach out and volunteer. Like we always say you can volunteer in several ways. You can volunteer with your time, we can volunteer with your resources
Mhm.
or with your connections. And so all of those ways are super important. So whether that means, introducing a sponsor to us or providing volunteer hours, bringing your kids out,
Mhm.
whatever that may look like, there's always events happening. And the more you can help engage with those, with your council offices, with your community partners, the better. We're always looking to partner when we're hosting events.
Mhm.
We never want to do things on our own. So if there is a community event that's being hosted in your neighborhood and you want us to help support on, we'd love to be there as well. So I'd say the first thing, easiest thing you can do is just reach out. Make sure your office knows that, especially if you live in the district, that your district knows, hey, I want to be a volunteer. Tag me in your system as a volunteer and send me an email every time there's an opportunity.
Well, you're our council person. I obviously I live here right across the street in Ridgeview, here in your district, and I know that you're very visible. You come to all of our meetings, which is amazing. We have one of the oldest neighborhood associations here, Hills Ridgeview Neighborhood Association. I think it's been around since the 1950s, when they first built our neighborhood, and it never fails, right? Invariably, you're always there, to support us and to listen to our concerns and so forth. So you're very, very visible. So I appreciate that. Now, from a real estate standpoint, maybe not a lot of folks know that you have a real estate license, and you and I've talked about this in the past as well. But so the city of so kind of going back to what as a follow up question to what we're talking about the affordability aspect. City of San Antonio Home Ownership Incentive Programs. It's an acronym HIP, right? They state that the maximum sales price of an existing home in order to qualify for the program cannot exceed $283,200. Yet our citywide average sales price, as reported by the San Antonio Board of Realtors as of June 2025, which is the last full month of data that we actually have, right? It was 392,796. So that's like over $100,000 over the threshold for this particular program in order for to qualify. Now, in your district specifically, again, as I mentioned before, I kind of in my did a very loose study, right? Because it's kind of tough to encompass Woodlawn and just kind of all the different neighborhoods that encompass. But I did a loose study, and I came up with an average sales price from our MLS in June 2025, just at about 338,517, which is still about $55,000 over the threshold, of course. And then, of course, I just made reference to my neighborhood, Ridgeview, it's just right across the street from where we're sitting. And the average sales price even in Ridgeview is 314,780, which is still $30,000 over. And by the way, it's a great first-time home buyer neighborhood. I cycle through the neighborhood every single day, and I see a lot more young families, with strollers and walking the kids and the dogs and so forth, right? So, so it really is, that's still $30,000 over the threshold. So, based on your experience in our industry, and now with one term in office in city council, so what thoughts do you have about perhaps lobbying for to raise that ceiling, even if it's just a little bit for that particular program, make it a little bit more accessible to San Antonio residents and certainly, residents here in your district.
Yeah. It's a tough one, right? Because sometimes when you're a first-time home buyer, you still want a really nice home to be able to live in,
Hmm.
and so we wanna make sure that average home price is reflective, but at the same time, we're talking about average, and the city of San Antonio is not a lending institution, unfortunately, so it makes it very difficult for us to offer, support for folks for all of our residents, and so what we have to really do is think about from an equity perspective, who needs it the most. And from an equity perspective, the folks that need it the most are the ones that are really just looking to get started. Might have been, been living in multifamily rental for a long time and
Hmm.
wanting to look for their first humble home that they're going to start living in. So,
Sure.
from an equity perspective, it makes it difficult because when we raise that value of the home, now you're opening it up to a lot of folks that may not need it. And so we need to make sure that we're supporting the resident that needs us the most, that hasn't been able to save up that down payment assistance. And so that's the person that we're really looking to help with this program. I know the lending market has changed significantly, which makes it even more challenging for first time home buyers. But our goal with this program is really to help those that need it the most. And so that's one of the challenges. Do we need to absolutely do we need to do more? Yes. And one of my council members previously actually filed a CCR, which is a form of policy to try to see if there's something we can do for teachers
Mm.
to help teachers with home ownership. And that's another really big issue that we have in our community. There's so many areas that we could help provide support. And so I think that while we would love to have everyone purchase their home, the thing that we really want to focus on as a council is making sure they have stable housing. So that includes multifamily. And when we're including a lot of the different types of programs, it includes new multifamily, multifamily home rehab, permanent supportive housing. It makes it difficult to actually put a lot more funding in another area or another program for home ownership. And so that's the tough part about that.
Okay. That's certainly something that, we can, keep in mind. And I try to do the best I can, from my standpoint, even,
Yeah.
just to kind of educate the public. It's all the other programs that are available, even at the state level and so forth. But let me ask you, how can we as licensees, perhaps participate with your office? I mean, what, if anything, can we do,
Yeah.
right, to help you, perhaps help make home ownership more attainable to our city's residents?
Yeah, if you are working with a resident that really needs help and you feel like there's a program at the city that could really help provide, let us know. Reach out and let me know. I'm pretty easy to access. My cell phone's pretty much everywhere and and I'll even give it
Right.
210-236-0580. Shoot me a text. Find me on Instagram, Dr. Sukh D1, send me a message. And we're happy to see if there's anything else that we can do to provide support. Sometimes my staff is phenomenal, right? So we are very lucky in the city that we get to work with
They
a
really
staff.
have a better way,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Uh,
A staff of 9 folks, and I have staff members that will go out of their way to find any kind of support for their residents. So whether it is someone that's already in a home that you're working that needs new sidewalks and they want to learn about our sidewalk rebate program, you can share that. If you want to know whether when you're selling a home, whether a street is going to be redone, we can tell you if it's on the IMP plan. And
mhm.
that's a great way to tell someone, hey, because as realtors, we always say, make sure you go there when it's raining so that you can see the drainage issue on the street, right?
Absolutely.
Because we have a lot of that. But
Yep.
if you're looking at a home that's, first time home buyer might be in the budget range and concerned about some of these infrastructure issues, let our office know, put it on our radar that
Sure.
the sidewalk on the street is not as good and you want it to be addressed, or there's some drainage curb. We could add curbs to help the drainage. Whatever it is, reach out and let us know. And you can offer that to the client to say like, hey, we can call the council office and let them know this is a challenge.
Okay. Yeah, and I can attest to that, by the way, because I do have the number to text with you, and yes, you do answer. So
I'm glad.
yeah, I just so we you're yeah we because we've talked about that a sidewalk issue.
Yeah. It was
Coincidentally
fun.
enough,
I know, it's
coincidentally enough.
never enough,
Yeah.
and but now it's on our radar, so at least that we know that it's on our radar, and also if you're looking to purchase a home in one of our historic neighborhoods or an area that has a neighborhood conservation district, our office can help you support what are the rules and regulations if you wanna do any fix of the home that you're allowed to do.
Okay. Well, as we round third base and we head for home, I do have kind of a fun question.
Sure.
What's the one thing that you wish more folks in the United States knew about San Antonio?
Mm. That's a great question. I would say the thing that I always think folks don't realize is that we're a city of gastronomy. We have some amazing chefs here that have really put us on the map for food. And oftentimes folks don't think about that. They think about Chicago or DC and Houston, but
So true.
we have some amazing chefs here and some amazing restaurants, many of whom are located in District 1. And it's their hard work that has really gotten us that city of gastronomy label, and they're gonna be featured now in the new airport as the airport expands and as we get that terminal, so
It's true.
it's gonna be incredible, and I love eating out. I love eating, and so I love going to their restaurants and seeing
Mhm.
all the different menus, and I can't wait for residents that are coming through our airport or even tourists coming through the airport to be able to experience that
Yeah.
as well.
I work with a lot of relocation traffic, a lot of folks come here for military PCS and, better cost of living, et cetera, opportunities for jobs. So I like to emphasize that. So I'm so glad you said that.
And the second thing from a real estate perspective
Uh-huh.
was knowing that we have some really great schools too.
Yeah.
So a lot of focus has been placed in San Antonio ISD, which is the urban core and the heart of our district. And for a while, folks were going out because they felt like their kids needed a different school. But now we have school choice within SAISD. So you can go to a dual language school at Mark Twain. You could go to a project-based learning school at the Advanced Learning Academy. So
Mm.
there's a lot of options.
That's terrific. Well, we're gonna wrap up because I can see she needs you. And what's the one thing that you would like more San Antonians to know about, the work that you personally do on city council?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I would love residents to know is that our first job and our primary job is making policy, absolutely, but we're also here for them. Like customer service is our number one thing. We want to be really great in support of that. We don't always have a good solution or a good answer, like, our experience, but we at least want to know what's happening in our community. So call our office. And if you don't, if you need more, keep calling. Make sure you reach out and let us know. We've heard a lot over the last 6 months about speeding in neighborhoods, and so we're working to figure out how can we address that with solar lights that show you like the radar feedback lights. And so whatever challenges you're facing in the community, whatever hopes and desires you have for your park or your community center, whatever you need, you let us know, and we want to at least be aware of what's going on.
Perfect. And that leads me to my last question, which is, for our audience, what's the best way for the community to reach your office on general matters? Because there's so many that can be addressed, but on general matters, what's the best?
Sure. I mentioned my information, but our office, the best way to reach us is call us or email us. And so council.district1@sanantonio.gov and send us an email, give us a call.
Okay. It's been a great pleasure getting to know you a little bit better, ma'am.
Thank
So,
you so much.
once again, congratulations on the win. It was huge, and we wish you all the best and all the success in the world as you embark upon your second term, at City Hall. So,
Thank you
thank
so much.